Jungkook breaks down on stage after receiving a shocking message from Taehyung, an emotional confession that tears the fandom apart. "I'm sorry. I know I ruined everything." The spotlight froze midair, casting a cold blue glow across the massive arena. Thousands of fans held their breath as Jungkook stood center stage, his voice still echoing faintly from the emotional solo he had just delivered. The music had faded, the cheers dimmed to a quiet hum, and for a heartbeat, the world stopped moving. Then he reached into his pocket, his fingers curled around his phone, the movement almost imperceptible. He unlocked the screen, his thumb hovering like he already knew something was waiting. The moment his eyes scanned the message, something in him visibly cracked. "I'm sorry, I know I ruined everything. But you need to know, I chose her because I thought you'd be fine without me. I was so wrong." Taehyung's breath hitched. His lips parted but no sound came out. A tear fell, slow and silent. Then another. Fans screamed, thinking he was still caught in the emotional aftershock of the song. But the truth was deeper, quieter, and far more devastating that a fan site camera, accidentally zoomed too far, caught a glimpse of the message on his phone screen. The screenshot went viral within minutes. Jungkook didn't speak, that he didn't bow, that he didn't return for the encore. He simply turned and walked off the stage, leaving the lights flickering behind him and thousands of confused hearts pounding in his absence. That night, the internet fractured. ARMY was no longer just one voice. It became a chorus of speculation, heartbreak, and disbelief. Some fans said it was a misunderstanding, an emotional moment between friends. Others insisted it was deeper, maybe even romantic. Rumors collided with timelines. A recent viral photo of Taehyung, spotted at a private rooftop party with a rising actress, matched the timestamp of the message. Fans began dissecting every detail. Why would Taehyung send something like that? And why now? Jungkook didn't speak to the press. He didn't post. He didn't even acknowledge the moment. But Taehyung did something far more telling. The next morning, his social media accounts looked different. Every photo with Jungkook was gone, all but one. A dimly lit, blurry snapshot from their trainee days, sitting back to back on the cold dance studio floor. No kapshin, no hashtags, just the two of them before the fame, before the world, before everything broke. Jungkook didn't sleep that night. He sat in his hotel room, the message still open on his screen, reading it over and over again until it blurred. His mind drifted into fragments of memories. Late-night rehearsals when they laughed until they collapsed. A rainy day in Tokyo when Taehyung slipped his jacket over Jungkook's shoulders without a word. The Paris tour when he almost said what had been living in his chest for years, but he didn't, because that night, Taehyung had kissed someone else, and Jungkook had buried it, just like he always did. Beneath his smile, Jungkook carried a fear few people knew, that he was the one people could always leave behind. That because he was strong, no one thought he could break. He had always been the youngest, the golden one, the one expected to bounce back. But tonight he didn't bounce, that he shattered. The industry noticed. Whispers behind closed doors grew louder. Some insiders claimed the group was being pulled in different directions. Others hinted at internal pressure to keep things quiet. Behind the stage lights, something darker was moving. Something calculated. Someone wanted this to unravel. That night, as Jungkook sat alone in the dressing room long after everyone had left, another message appeared on his phone. This one came from an unknown number. "If you really want to know why he chose her, meet me tonight. Alone." The sender's ID was hidden. Only 3 letters appeared. Why no one knew who YNG was. But Jungkook stared at the message for a long time. Then he stood up and walked out the door. The arena was silent now, but outside, the storm was just beginning. The hallway of the hotel was unnaturally quiet, too quiet for the aftermath of a sold-out concert. Somewhere in the distance, a cleaning cart squeaked, but Jungkook didn't notice. He kept his head down, hoodie pulled low, mask snug against his face. His heart wasn't beating normally. It was like a chaotic drum solo inside his chest. In his hand, the message still burned. "If you really want to know why he chose her, meet me tonight. Alone." Wyangi didn't text back. Didn't call, he just followed the location pin dropped in the message. IT led to the rooftop of a nondescript building in downtown Seoul. Not flashy, not private, and yet oddly perfect for the kind of meeting that felt like the opening scene of a psychological thriller. When he stepped out of the elevator and pushed the door to the rooftop, the air hit him like a slap, sharp cold, laced with the scent of night and something electric like a storm approaching. She was already there. She stood near the edge, back turned, phone in one hand, cigarette in the other, unlit. As soon as she heard the soft scrape of his shoe against the concrete, she spoke without turning around. "You came alone." Her voice was calm, low, almost disappointed, as if she expected him to chicken out. "Who are you?" Jungkook asked, tone clipped, eyes sharp. She turned slowly. Not famous, not someone he recognized from parties or tabloids, but her face was the kind that made you stop, like she knew things she shouldn't, like she saw through people without even trying. "I'm the reason Taehyung made that choice," she said simply, "but not the way you think." Jungkook's fists clenched at his sides. "I'm not here for games." "No," she said, finally lighting the cigarette. "You're here for the truth. And truth's never a game. It's a war." She introduced herself as Yena. Just Yena, not an idol, not an actress, just someone who had once been in the room where it happened. A former assistant to someone high up in HYB, someone who, she claimed, had been orchestrating rifts between certain members for years. Jungkook didn't believe her at first, until she pulled out a recording device and played a conversation, one that made his skin crawl. Taehyung's voice. "Clear as day. I don't think I can protect him anymore. Not with the way they're watching him. If I make it look like I'm pushing him away, maybe they'll stop." Silence. Then another voice. Unfamiliar, colder, good. "Make sure he believes it's about someone else. We can't afford them being close. Not with what's coming." Jungkook stumbled back a step. The rooftop felt smaller, tighter, like the air itself was rejecting what he'd just heard. "That recording is from 4 months ago," Yena said, watching him. "Right before the dating rumors about Taehyung and that actress exploded." "Why would they care if we're close?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "We're in the same group. Because you were too close, too synced, too powerful when you were aligned. Some people at the top found that dangerous." Her eyes held his. "They're setting you up to break apart piece by piece." "And Taehyung? He's playing martyr. He's letting himself be hated to keep you safe." Jungkook didn't speak for a long time. He couldn't. The puzzle pieces were rearranging themselves, too fast and too painfully. "You expect me to believe all this?" he finally said, jaw tight. "I expect you to feel it," Yena replied. "Tell me, Jungkook, why didn't he fight for you when you pulled away? Why didn't he explain that night in Paris? Why did he send that message, knowing it would destroy you?" Jungkook's voice dropped to a whisper. "Because he wanted me to let him go." She nodded. "Exactly." Yena stepped closer, lowering her voice. "But here's the real question. Do you want to?" He didn't answer, but something shifted behind his eyes. A flicker of fury, or resolve, or both. Down below, Seoul buzzed like a sleeping dragon. Neon lights blinked through the mist. The rooftop felt like a suspended world, one step away from falling into chaos. Jungkook turned away from her, but just before reaching the door, he asked, without looking back, "Why are you helping me?" Yena smiled, almost sadly, "Because someone once told me loyalty is a choice. I'm tired of watching good people lose." That night, Jungkook didn't go back to the hotel that he disappeared at NO posts. No sightings. Nothing. The only clue came at 3:07 a.m. when an old video from BTS' earliest days reappeared on his Instagram story for just 10 seconds. A backstage clip of Taehyung putting a jacket over Jungkook's shoulders, whispering something we couldn't hear. No caption. Just a moment. And then it was gone. For 3 days, Jungkook vanished. No messages. No photos. No updates. HYB released a sterile statement blaming exhaustion. Fans weren't buying it, especially after Taehyung posted a cryptic Instagram story. A photo of 2 birds, one flying, one caged, with the caption, "Some cages are made of gold." It was the first thing he'd posted since deleting their photos. The fandom exploded. Was he trying to say Jungkook was trapped? Or that he was? Meanwhile, Jungkook wasn't resting, he was digging. With Yena's help, he started collecting pieces, quiet documents, anonymous messages, a sudden pattern in schedules that showed deliberate isolation. Small changes that, over time, had pulled him and Taehyung apart. That IT wasn't a breakup, that IT was a strategy. Someone had been separating them under the guise of protecting the group. But the real question remained, why? Then came the email, an anonymous tip, no name. Just an audio file. Jungkook sat alone in a dark studio, headphones on, hands trembling, he pressed play. We can't let V and Jungkook stay too close. If they step out of line, romantically or otherwise, we risk losing everything. Our investors won't allow that kind of attention. They want the illusion, not the truth. The voice was heavily distorted, but the message was clear. This wasn't about scandal. This was about control. Jungkook called Taehyung that night for the first time since the message. He didn't expect him to answer, but he did. The voice on the other end was quiet. "Raw, why didn't you tell me?" Jungkook asked, barely holding it in. "You made me hate you. I thought that would be easier," Taehyung whispered, "than seeing you get destroyed. I didn't need protection. I needed the truth." Silence. Then Taehyung said, "They said they'd erase you. Not just from the group, from everything. That I'd get to stay if I gave them something else to focus on. So I let them use me. I chose to be the story." Jungkook couldn't breathe. He realized Taehyung didn't betray him, that he sacrificed himself. But it wasn't over. The company wasn't just silencing emotions. They were burying something bigger, possibly a cover-up involving false dating scandals, manipulated press leaks, and internal surveillance. Yena confirmed it. She had files, evidence. "Whatever you're about to do," she told Jungkook, handing over a drive. "Just know, it's war now." Jungkook stared at the blinking light of the USB, and for the first time since that night on stage, he smiled. The screen behind him flickered as the crowd chanted his name. John Jungkook. John Jungkook. Their voices echoing like thunder against the high dome of the Seoul Skydome. It was supposed to be a comeback stage of a night to celebrate. Instead, it was the night he chose to destroy the script. Backstage, the atmosphere was frozen. Producers ran from screen to screen, managers barked into earpieces, and security hovered closer than usual. Everyone had heard the rumors that Jungkook wasn't following the planned set list, that he made unapproved adjustments. No one knew what they meant, except him and Taehyung. Earlier that day, Jungkook had sent a private message to Taehyung in words. Just a location, stage left. Midnight, be ready. For the first time in months, Taehyung showed up without asking a single question. And when their eyes met under the spotlights that night, it was clear this wasn't a performance. This was Ward S. The final solo track faded. The lights didn't dim. Jungkook walked forward slowly, ignoring the cues, ignoring the teleprompters, ignoring the live show director's voice screaming in his in-ears. He took the mic off the stand and spoke. "I've been told to keep quiet," he said calmly, eyes sweeping the arena. "But tonight I want to speak, not as an idol, but as a person." The fans went still. You could hear the breath of the front row catch. "I was told my emotions were a threat, that my bond with someone I love deeply." He glanced left, and the camera caught it. Taehyung standing silently in the wings, jaw tense, eyes wet, could damage everything we've built. Behind the scenes, chaos erupted. Broadcast producers cut to black, but Jungkook had already planned for that. The Jumbotron screens lit up that a montage. Clips spliced from Yena's stolen files. Secret meetings, blurred faces of executives discussing narrative control. A time-stamped audio of Taehyung being told to choose scandal or silence. And lastly, a file marked J_discipline_protocol.docx. The crowd gasped. This wasn't a PR stunt. This was a takedown. "Some people will say I've gone rogue," Jungkook said, his voice steady now. "Maybe I have. But if protecting someone I care about makes me reckless, then I'll wear that title with pride." A beat, then a shadow moved. Taehyung stepped onto the stage beside him, no longer in costume, no longer masked, just Taehyung. And he spoke, softly into the second mic. "I never stopped choosing him. I just thought letting go was safer. But I was wrong." The arena broke. Screams, Tears, silence, and then a roar that shook the ground. Security tried to move in, but they were too late. Jungkook pulled off his in-ear. Taehyung followed. They stepped forward, side by side, and bowed. Not to the cameras, not to the company.to the fans.to the people who had loved them before the lies. Backstage, panic turned to paralysis. The broadcast was killed completely. Online streams went dark. But it didn't matter. Army had already recorded everything. Within 20 minutes, clips hit Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Weverse. Hashtag Jungkook uncensored, hashtag Taehyung truth, hashtag they tried to silence them, hashtag war still with you. The world was watching. And this time, they weren't looking away. By 1:03 a.m. HYB stock began to fall. By 2:11 a.m. News outlets in 3 countries picked up the story. And by 3 a.m., Jungkook posted his first personal message in months. This is only the beginning. The fallout was immediate. Lawyers showed up at Jungkook's door within 12 hours, papers in hand, cameras not far behind. HYB accused him of contractual defamation and unauthorized dissemination of company property. But Jungkook wasn't intimidated, because he had something they didn't. The full backup files from Yena's drive, uncut, unfiltered, and far worse than what he'd shown on stage. He just hadn't released them yet. Taehyung, meanwhile, was being dragged behind closed doors, isolated, interrogated, warned. If you stand by him, they told him, you go down too. They underestimated him, that he walked out mid-meeting and publicly unfollowed the official HYB account, posting a story minutes later. Silence is complicity. I'm done being silent. Fans went ballistic. The fandom split into those demanding accountability, and those terrified this meant the end of BTS. But just when Jungkook thought he was ready to bring everything down, the real betrayal struck. Yena disappeared, and no texts. No calls. Her apartment was emptied overnight. Then a leaked photo appeared online. Grainy, shot from behind. Yena in a black car, sitting next to a HYB executive. Taehyung was the one who broke the silence, calling Jungkook at 2. She flipped, he said. They got to her. Jungkook's chest tightened. No, she wouldn't. She already has. And then, as if fate wasn't done twisting the knife, an anonymous account posted a correction thread, attempting to discredit everything Yena had leaked. And it was working. Narrative control had shifted. HYB had gone on offense. For a moment, it felt like they'd lost. Jungkook stared at his phone, the weight of it unbearable. Maybe we were stupid, he muttered to Taehyung. No, Taehyung said quietly. We just didn't play dirty enough. That night, a message arrived in Jungkook's inbox from a burner email. You're not the only one she gave files to. She left a contingency. She didn't trust anyone, not even herself. Want the truth? Come alone. Attached was a location in old, decommissioned recording studio they used to rehearse in back before their debut. Abandoned, dust-coated, forgotten by time. And inside it, a hard drive, encrypted, untraceable. And on that drive, the real secret. Not just about Jungkook and Taehyung, but about how deep the manipulation went, and who at the very top had orchestrated all of it. The studio was silent, too silent. Dust floated through the beams of moonlight, slicing in from broken windows, and the old hardwood floors creaked beneath Jungkook's boots as he stepped inside. He remembered this place. He remembered laughter here. Taehyung standing in the corner trying to beatbox, Jimin doing flips in the background, and him, barefoot, headphones on, chasing some impossible note in the dark. Now, it felt like a grave. And yet there it was, sitting neatly on an old piano bench that a black hard drive, taped to the side. Trust in no one. He didn't open it alone, that he waited for Taehyung. Together, they sat cross-legged on the dusty floor, laptop between them, hearts hammering. The files loaded slow, like something knew this moment mattered. Then the folder appeared, Project Orion, internal. Inside were contracts, memos, audio files, and one video, timestamped 2 years ago in a glass-walled boardroom. The voice was unmistakable. Namjoon that on screen, he wasn't angry. He wasn't even emotional, that he was calm, professional. They're too close, he said, fingers steepled, staring out the window. We've built this group on balance. The second it becomes about them instead of us, the whole thing tips. Another executive responded, "So you're suggesting we push a narrative?" "I'm suggesting," Namjoon replied. "We create enough noise to distract for what fans don't need to see. If they think it's romance, they'll obsess. But if it turns into drama, they'll eventually get tired." Taehyung paused the video. His face had gone pale. "That was the week we started getting scheduled separately," he whispered. "Well, my calendar stopped syncing with yours." Jungkook's throat burned. Namjoon, the leader, the one they trusted most, wasn't just aware of the manipulation that he helped design. It first, they didn't want to believe it. It didn't make sense. Namjoon had always been the one keeping them grounded, protecting them from chaos. He'd talked about loyalty, truth, and brotherhood. But there it was, black and white, that he'd orchestrated their separation for the greater good. And worse, he'd kept it going. Jungkook wanted to scream, but he just sat there, shaking. "It was never about us being dangerous," he said finally. "It was about us being more powerful together than they could control." Taehyung's fists clenched. We were a threat to the system he helped build. And that was when Jungkook made the decision point. 2 days later. They posted a joint video. Just them, raw. No music, no filters. Jungkook spoke first. "We've uncovered things that change how we see this industry and people we trusted." Taehyung added, "We love BTS, but love without truth isn't real. We'll always be part of this family, but silence is not love." They didn't name Namjoon. They didn't have to. The fandom connected the dots in seconds. The internet fractured. Some defended Namjoon, saying he did what he had to. Others felt betrayed, not just by a leader, but by the illusion that BTS had always been united behind the scenes. But the biggest shock came 3 hours later when Namjoon posted a single tweet, no text. Just an old photo.bts during their trainee days. And in the background, Namjoon watching Jungkook and Taehyung, expression unreadable. Then, he deleted his entire account. The final concert was never supposed to happen, but Jungkook and Taehyung announced it anyway, one night only. No label, no official support, just them, a stage, and a message. The venue sold out in 7 minutes, no set list. No stylists, no choreography, just raw truth. That night, under a single spotlight, Jungkook stood center stage. Taehyung joined him slowly, a guitar strapped across his back. No words were spoken. The music began. Simple chords, familiar, unfinished. Then Jungkook spoke. "We don't know what comes next. But this is real. This is us. No edits. No fear." They performed one final song, one they'd written in secret years ago, buried after management called it too intimate. The lyrics hit different now. "If I lose myself, let me lose it in you." The crowd wept. Not for the end of a group, but for the end of a lie. After the final note faded, they walked off stage, hand in hand. No encore, no bow, no explanation. They disappeared into the dark. The next morning, their fans woke up to a simple, silent upload on YouTube. Bangtan File 01. What you were never meant to see. And it began, not with an exposé, but with a voice that Namjoon's voice. "I did it to protect what we built. But maybe I became a thing we were supposed to fight. The truth was out. The walls had fallen. And from the rubble, something new began. Not an ending, but a rebirth."